All right, you sick fucks. Ready to dig into the goddamn Tonight Show.
Let's do it.
We're talking like almost 70 years of late-night bullshit.
That's a lot of bullshit.
Legendary hosts, backstabbing, and enough drama to make those Real Housewives look like they're having a tea party.
Huh.
We got like a stack of Wikipedia pages here, thicker than a Kardashian's prenup.
You're not kidding. This show is seriously the world's longest running talk show.
Shit, you're telling me. It's older than my grandma.
It really is, and it's the third longest running show on all of NBC.
Really?
Yeah, only beaten by Today and, get this, Meet the Press.
Beat the press.
Yep. Who knew those boring-ass news programs were the real stamina freaks?
I know, right?
This show's been through it all, too, man. I mean, changing hosts, different formats, even, like, toilet paper shortages.
Toilet paper? What, did some at-hat host forget to stock the backstage bathroom or something?
Worse. Like, one of the hosts, we'll get to him later, but he made this joke, right, about a toilet paper shortage, and people actually freaked out, ran out and bought every goddamn roll they could find.
Holy shit. Talk about unintended consequences.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, let's rewind all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
It all started with Steve Allen.
Right.
Back in the Stone Age, like 1954.
You got it. Wild to think there was a time before late-night talk shows, right? But this guy, Steve Allen, he basically invented the format.
Seriously?
Yeah, monologues, celebrity interviews, audience shenanigans, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like he had the balls to try anything. What kind of crazy shit did he come up with?
Well, this is crazy, he'd just take the cameras outside the studio.
Was.
Yeah, do these impromptu, like, man-on-the-street interviews.
Yeah.
Sometimes even with actors in them, you know?
Oh, shit? Like who?
Well, John Knotts, for one. You know, Barney Fife.
Barney Fife?
Yeah, and Louis Nye, too.
Holy shit, that's awesome. So this Allen guy, he was a comedic genius or what?
Sounds like it.
What else? Did he have a band and shit?
Oh, absolutely. House band led by this guy, Lyle Skitch Henderson.
Never heard of him.
Well, he was a jazz legend, dude.
Ah.
It was like a full-blown variety show, music, comedy, the works.
Huh. And you were talking about those recurring bits with Steve and Edie?
Oh, yeah. That was pretty cool.
Wait, Steve and Edie, the singing duo, weren't they a thing even before this?
They were. Big deal, even before they got hitched in '57. But Allen's show definitely helped boost their fame.
So the guy was like a star maker on top of everything else.
It seems that way.
So with all this success, why the hell did he leave Tonight?
Well, he was doing so well, NBC gave him this primetime gig on Sundays.
No shit.
Yeah, to compete with the big boys like Ed Sullivan and Maverick.
Damn. Going head to head with those titans.
But it meant he had to share Tonight hosting duties with Ernie Kovacs.
Ernie Kovacs?
Yeah.
Seriously? The silent comedy dude, what the hell was NBC thinking?
It was a different time, man. Early television was like the Wild West. Anything goes.
So Kovacs hosted when?
Mondays and Tuesdays. Brought his own brand of weirdness, for sure.
Huh. Two hosts, two totally different vibes. Did it even work?
It was chaotic, that's for sure.
I bet.
But it had a charm to it. Early days of television, everything was new, experimental. The viewers ate it up.
So Allen ditches Tonight for the big time, and Kovacs takes over full time, right?
Not quite. NBC tried something totally different, actually.
Oh,
And it was a colossal fuck-up.
Okay, I'm all ears.
They turned the show into this news and features thing, called it, get this, Tonight, America After Dark.
Seriously?
Yeah. They had Jack LaScully from the Today Show
Wait,
hosting.
never heard of him.
Then some other dude, Al Jasbo Collins. They even had Hy Gardner doing interviews. It was like watching paint dry.
A news show in the late night slot. What a disaster.
It was a train wreck. They needed a miracle to get back on track.
So what happened? Did NBC finally wise up and bring back the talk show?
They did. And that's where Jack Pear comes in.
Jack Pear.
Yep.
Jumped ship from CBS in '57 to become the new host.
Rescuing The Tonight Show from the depths of boredom.
Exactly.
Jack Pear. Okay, now I've heard that name. Wasn't he like a bit of a wild card?
Wild card. He was a goddamn firecracker.
Yeah.
Brought the show back to its roots, talk show format.
Good.
They even started, branding the show after the host.
Ah, so that's when they started calling it The Jack Pear Show.
You got it. He was one of the first to broadcast in color, too.
Fancy pants.
Yeah, the viewers, they couldn't get enough. But like you said, the guy was a walking controversy.
Okay, so what kind of shit did he pull?
Oh, man, where do I even begin? He told jokes that made the censors shit their pants. He'd had these meltdowns on air.
Seriously?
The whole 9 yards. He even walked off the show once because NBC cut one of his jokes.
Real shit. Walked off the show? What the hell was the joke?
It was 1960, And he made this crack about like a WC being mistaken for a wayside chapel.
FWC?
Yeah, a bathroom.
The censors freaked and cut it. Pear was so pissed, he stormed off the set. Right in the middle of the show.
Damn, talk about a diva.
Oh, he came back a month later acting like nothing happened, just waltzed back in and said, "As I was saying before I was interrupted."
I bet the audience went nuts.
Lost their minds. But even with all the drama, he was a ratings magnet. Eventually, though, it got to be too much, even for him.
So he quit, like threw another tantrum and stormed out.
Nah, this time he left on his own terms. Decided he'd rather do one big primetime show a week than 5 late-night gigs.
Makes sense. Guess even divas get tired.
Yeah.
So who the hell took over after Pear's dramatic exit?
They had this whole parade of guest hosts, actually.
Really? Like who?
Oh, Art Linkletter, Merv Griffin, even Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis, no shit.
Yeah, it was like a late-night Hunger Games.
A revolving door of personalities? That's nuts. So, but eventually they landed on their man, right?
They did.
Johnny Carson.
Bingo. But it wasn't immediate.
What do you mean?
Well, Carson was still wrapping up his contract with ABC, so the viewers had to wait.
Until when?
October 1st, 1962. That's when the reign of the king officially began.
I bet the anticipation was killing everyone.
It was like waiting for, like, the second coming or something.
Wild.
And get this, Groucho Marx introduced Carson as the new host.
Groucho Marx?
Yeah.
No shit.
Legendary.
So Carson takes the throne, and, of course, he brings his trusty sidekick, Ed McMahon, with him.
Of course.
It's Johnny!
Chills, man, chills.
But it wasn't just McMahon, right? What about the music? Was it still that big band sound?
Well, they kept Skitch Henderson on for a few years, for continuity. But then Doc Severinsen took over.
Doc Severinsen.
The one and only.
Those guys were the soundtrack to Late Night America for 3 decades?
Something like that.
Did they still do those Stump the Band segments back then?
Oh, yeah. Those were classic. But let's talk about Carson himself. This guy was a goddamn machine. He ruled the ratings for 30 years.
30 years? How the hell did he do it?
It wasn't about, the flash or the drama. He was just cool.
What do you mean?
I mean, he was smooth, he was funny, he had this way of making his guests feel comfortable. They loved him.
Oh, he was like the anti-diva.
Exactly. Sharp wit, but approachable. The guy you wanted to have a beer with. And let's not forget, he was a kingmaker. He launched the careers of some of the biggest names in comedy.
Oh, yeah? Like who?
Jerry Seinfeld, David Letterman, Joan Rivers.
Speaking of Joan Rivers,
Yeah.
wasn't that a pretty messy breakup? What the hell happened there?
She was one of his most popular guest hosts, right? But then she went and took a competing gig over at Fox without even telling Carson.
Damn, that's cold.
It was a huge scandal.
So Mr. Nice Guy did have his limits. You cross him and you're toast. But after 30 years, he finally decided to call it quits.
Yep, 1992, end of an era. And that's where things get really interesting. The battle for the Tonight Show throne begins.
Hold on, you're not going to leave us hanging, are we? We need to hear about this bloodbath.
We'll dive into all that next time. The Leno, Letterman, O'Brien saga, the whole 9 yards. That's when shit really hits the fan. So, Johnny's off riding into the sunset, pockets full of cash, probably banging some 20-year-old on a yacht somewhere.
Leaving a giant hole in the late-night world and a whole pack of wolves ready to rip each other's throats out for a chance to sit in that chair.
It was a feeding frenzy, for sure.
Yeah.
And NBC, well, they had to make a decision. Who could possibly fill those shoes?
Let's be real. Nobody could truly replace Johnny. He was in a league of his own.
Totally agree. But the show, it has to go on. And so NBC decided to play it safe.
What do you mean?
They went with Jay Leno.
Leno, seriously? The guy with a chin that can sink a battleship? I always figured he was more of a car guy than a comedian.
Yeah, well, he was Johnny's, regular guest host for years, so he was a familiar face. But there was another contender in the wings, David Letterman.
Ah, Letterman. Now that's a funny motherfucker. He was edgy, unpredictable. I thought he was the obvious choice.
A lot of people did, including Johnny himself.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he actually said he thought Letterman should get the gig.
No shit. Carson actually endorsed Letterman. Ouch. That's got a sting for Leno.
It did. But, Leno got the gig, and Letterman was, to put it mildly, pissed off.
I bet. I wouldn't want to be in the same room with him. So what did he do? Did he just crawl away with his tail between his legs?
Hell no. He took Carson's advice, told NBC to shove it, and jumped ship to CBS.
No shit.
Yep. Launched his own show, Late Show, to go head-to-head with Leno.
Damn. Now that's some balls. So, Leno versus Letterman, a battle for late-night supremacy. Who drew first blood?
For the first couple of years, actually, Letterman kicked Leno's ass.
You're shitting me. Letterman actually beat Leno.
It's true, but you gotta hand it to Leno. He was relentless,
What do you mean?
I mean, the guy was a workhorse, never took a night off, and he slowly started clawing his way back.
Persistence pays off, I guess.
Uh.
But wasn't Leno's reign full of its own drama?
What about that whole Conan O'Brien shitstorm I've heard about? Oh, yeah. The mother of all late-night fuck-ups. So it's 2009, and NBC gets this genius idea, and I'm using the term genius loosely.
Go on.
They decided to replace Leno with Conan O'Brien.
Conan.
Yep. And get this, they gave Conan 5 years to prepare.
5 years? Why the hell would they do that?
Who knows, right? But it blew up in their faces.
So Leno gets the boot, Conan's the new king. What went wrong?
Well, first of all, they moved the whole show.
What, the Tonight Show?
Yeah, to this brand new studio on the Universal lot.
Oh.
Lavish, expensive, spared no expense.
Sounds fancy. But did they at least give Conan a decent time slot?
Well, that's where the shit really hit the fan.
What do you mean?
NBC decided to give Leno his own primetime show at 10 p.m.
Hold on. They put Leno, the guy they just fired, in direct competition with their new golden boy. Are they stupid or something?
Right. The thinking was Leno could keep his older viewers at 10, then Conan could pull in a younger crowd at 11.35. But it backfired. Spectacularly.
I'm guessing Leno's show bombed.
Oh, big time. Ratings were abysmal, and it caused a ripple effect. Like, the affiliate stations started losing their minds.
Why?
Because Leno's weak lead-in was screwing up their 11 p.m. news ratings.
Makes sense. Local news is where the real money is, right? They weren't going to put up with that.
And if that wasn't enough, there was this whole booking war going on. Leno's people were basically strong-arming guests. Saying if they went on Conan's show first, they'd be blacklisted from Leno's show.
Jesus. This is more dramatic than a soap opera. So what did Conan do? Just take it?
His ratings weren't great, but he was fighting an uphill battle. He was getting crushed by Letterman over on CBS.
So what did NBC do?
Well, their solution was brilliant, really.
What do you mean?
They decided to move Leno back to the 11.35 slot.
Wait, seriously?
And bump Conan to after midnight?
After they promised him the Tonight Show?
Yep.
They basically banished him to the graveyard shift.
And Conan was like, fuck this, I'm out.
Good for him.
He felt totally betrayed, rightfully so. Said he wouldn't do the show if they moved it. So there NBC was, stuck with their dicks in their hands.
I bet it cost them a fortune to get out of that mess.
It did. They ended up paying Conan a whopping $33 million to walk away, plus another $12 million for his staff.
Holy shit, that's a lot of dough for a fuck-up.
Hmm.
So Leno's back, Conan's walking away with a ton of cash. What happened next?
Well, Leno goes back to The Tonight Show in March 2010, but, the magic was gone, his ratings never fully recovered, and now he was facing even more late-night competition.
Like who? Was Letterman finally the one to dethrone him?
Well, Letterman was still a force, but now there are these new guys, Jon Stewart with The Daily Show, Stephen Colbert doing The Colbert Report, and eventually Conan himself even got his own show over on TBS.
So Leno's on top, but late night is basically a goddamn mosh pit. Did he hold on to the crown?
For a while. But NBC decided to shake things up again in 2014.
Oh.
And this time, they went with Jimmy Fallon.
Fallon. The Saturday Night Live guy. The one with all the goofy impressions. I always thought he was kind of a lightweight.
He had been hosting late night for a few years, and NBC, they saw him as the future of late night. They even moved The Tonight Show back to New York after 42 years in L.A.
Fallon in New York. It's like bringing the show back to its roots. So how has he been doing? Has he managed to recapture that old Tonight Show magic?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And we'll get into that next.
Okay, so we've basically crawled through the graveyard of late-night legends. Allen, Pear, Carson, Leno, even that whole Conan shit show.
It really is a crazy history.
It's amazing that Tonight Show survived all that. But now we're on to Jimmy Fallon, the class clown, the guy with the $1 million smile. Can he handle it? Can he make the show his own, but still, tip his hat to all the ghosts that came before him?
Well, he's been doing it for, over a decade now? And his ratings have been pretty damn good. I mean, he's like the Pied Piper for millennials, all those viral videos and goofy antics.
Yeah, Fallon's all about that internet fame.
Yeah.
But is that enough to carry on the legacy of The Tonight Show?
It's definitely a different approach than Carson or Leno. He's not really into politics or anything. He'd rather play games and sing silly songs.
Which kind of makes sense, right? I mean, people get their news online these days. They don't need to hear some political rant on The Tonight Show. They just want to unwind, have a few laughs.
Exactly. Fallon gets that. He's adapted to the times, embraced the whole digital world, social media, all that. He's even brought back some of those classic Tonight Show bits, but with a modern twist.
Really? Like, what? Don't tell me he's dusting off Karnak the Magnificent.
Not quite.
Hmm.
But he's got his own spin on Stump the Band, which is always a hit. And his thank you notes segment, that's like a modern version of Carson's monologue jokes.
Right, right, putting his own spin on things.
Yeah.
And he brought the Roots with him, right, from late night.
Yep. Fantastic band, super versatile, can play anything. It adds a nice touch, having that live music energy.
It shows he's not afraid to experiment a little, mix things up. And of course, he's got that Steve Higgins guy as his announcer.
Yeah, they're great together, like a comedy duo.
So it sounds like Fallon's doing all right. He's not just coasting on the success of the guys who came before him.
He's finding his own way, for sure. I think that's what's so interesting about his run. He's stayed true to the spirit of The Tonight Show, but he's also made it relevant for a whole new audience.
That's a tough balance. Too much change, and you piss off the old-timers. Too little, and you become irrelevant.
He's found the sweet spot, respects the legacy, but he's not afraid to push things forward.
So what's the verdict? Has Fallon captured the Tonight Show magic?
I think he has, in his own way, made the show his own, and that's no easy feat considering who came before him.
Yeah, the pressure must be insane. Like trying to juggle chainsaws while riding a unicycle on a tightrope.
He's managed to stay on top. That takes talent.
Where do we go from here? What's the future of The Tonight Show? Will it even be around in 10 years?
Who knows, right? Late night is changing so fast. Streaming, social media, it's a whole new world.
Maybe The Tonight Show will be a TikTok sensation or something.
You never know. But it's survived for 70 years because it's been able to adapt. It's a chameleon, always changing colors to fit in.
From Steve Allen's weirdness to Jimmy Fallon's viral videos, it's been one hell of a ride.
It really has. It just goes to show you people will always crave that connection, that shared experience of laughter and absurdity before they go to bed.
So there you have it, folks. A trip through the wild world of The Tonight Show. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And everything in between. It's a fascinating story, all about ambition, humor, and how entertainment is constantly evolving.
And who knows what'll happen next.
Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. The Tonight Show will be with us for a long time to come. It's a goddamn institution.
It really is.